Hello, friends. Welcome to the Living Truth Podcast. This is Kristen Carey hosting today, and I am so excited to have my friend Stacey Smith here on our podcast. Stacey, thank you for joining me on the Living Truth Podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
I have interviewed Stacey before, and if you haven't listened to her previous episode, her name was Stacey Sadler in that episode. So it's the same Stacey. She's just gotten married, and you're going to want to listen to that. It's called Parenting After Betrayal. It's a really good one. So look back in the Living Truth podcast for that one. In case you don't know about Stacey, let me tell you about her. She is the chief clinical officer at Daring Ventures. Daring Ventures is a wonderful coaching and therapy practice out of Houston, but they see people all over the world, especially in this area of sexual betrayal and unwanted sexual behavior. Stacey is an EMDR certified therapist. If you don't know what EMDR is, it's a fabulous modality of therapy for trauma. She's also a trainer for APSATS, which stands for the Association of Partner of Sex Addicts Trauma Specialists. And Stacey's also a certified sex addiction therapist. So she really knows her stuff on both sides, for the person with the unwanted sexual behavior and for the betrayed partner. One of Stacey's most passionate areas is helping couples heal after betrayal and sexual addiction. And she uses Daring Ventures' couple-centered recovery model to guide partners toward rebuilding trust and creating marriages that are, believe it or not, even stronger than they ever were before the betrayal. So, Stacey, can you tell me a little bit more about your passion to address the coupleship
Yeah.
after betrayal?
Yeah. Originally, the very first time someone asked me to work a couples retreat, I was like, deer in headlights. No
Yeah.
way. I can't do this. Because if a couple started fighting, I would be in a bundle on the ground, rocking back and forth, and I had no idea, like it would be triggering. I didn't know. And finally, I just braved it and did it. And I really got past my own stuff about being a couples therapist. And now I just love it because to me, it makes so much sense. To help from a couple's perspective because we ask couples all the time, would you go back to the marriage that you had before betrayal? And they're like, no, because it wasn't good. And it is an opportunity to learn, is an opportunity to learn about intimacy, learn about deficits, learn about yourself and learn about your partner. And it can be so rich, you know? We don't understand why we do what we do. But in couples therapy, you start learning
Mhm.
about how I perceive myself, how I know myself, I should say self-awareness,
Yeah.
other awareness, awareness of the other person, and then awareness of how I'm perceived by another person. And that's so rich in all of our relationships, right?
Mhm.
So we teach them why they do what they do and how to do what they need to do to heal. And they
Mm,
become equipped, which I love it because some people just don't have the information. They just
I know.
don't.
Yeah. At what point in the journey do you start working with couples? Like immediately when they come to you for help, and let's say the person with the unwanted sexual behavior is maybe still acting out, still has sexual secrets,
Right.
and the partner doesn't know everything, or at what point do you dive into couples work?
Such a good question, Kristen. It just depends on the couple. A couple that he may still have secrets, and I just say he, she, just
Sure.
because that's usually what I work with. I'm going to educate them on sex addiction and betrayal trauma, and I'm going to recommend assessing at that stage,
Yeah.
assessing what is really going on here. Are there deficits? What is coming up? Are there personality issues coming up? Are there personality issues on board? Because you got to know what you're dealing with.
You mean like a personality disorder? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got to know what we're dealing with. We have to know what's coming up and what's entering the room. If I don't know that my partner has a deficit or a personality issue or personality disorder, if I don't know that there's a mental illness going on, then I can't really understand what's happening and what I need to do and treatment. like treatment options, right? So in the beginning, there's a lot of assessment and things like that, and talking about those things and educating. Um, but I'm not going to work on weaving a couple together if there's still sexual secrets out there, because why would I want to create closeness when there's betrayal actively happening? So it really just depends on the phases where they're at.
Absolutely. And I know that attachment is at the very foundation of the work that you do. Can you tell me more about that? What even, for example, if there's people who are listening to this and they're like, what do you mean by attachment? Can you explain that?
Sure. Sure. So from a very young age, we start learning about our assumptive reality. Like, are we safe within ourselves? And are we safe in relationship? Can I rely on people? How do I know if I'm okay and if people around me are safe? Self-regulation means that I know how to regulate my feelings. I know how to feel my feelings. I know how to regulate my feelings. I know how to come back from strong emotions. We talk a lot about window of tolerance, being able to deal with my grief or my trauma and then come back from it, learning how to do those things. Attachment, if I'm safe and I have a secure attachment, I know how to do those things. A secure connection, a secure connector looks to people for relationship. They look to people for comfort, and people are a source of that for them. They know how to risk vulnerability and can rally from that if they get hurt. And so, secure connectors know how to do that. That doesn't always happen in relationships early in life. It's not a given, because our parents don't always do a great job of that. And I can talk about that in a minute, attunement and things like that. But the antidote to shame is connection. And so we're learning in relationships how to deal with shame. Once another person has accepted us and not judged us, we can feel better about ourselves. People that are self-regulating or secure connecting can deflect shame by bringing others into it. They're not going to hide in their shame. They're going to bring others in, community, whether it's a support group or whatever. Stan Tatkin in PACT therapy, which is the psychobiological approach to couples therapy, calls these people anchors. So just imagine being strong and moored like a ship, just anchored in, right?
Mm.
And so a secure connector, when they experience shame, doesn't run away from others. They'll say, hey, I'm feeling this. And then others can help them deflect that shame, right?
Mm.
Because in an insecure attachment, we're going to be turning away from others to avoid being seen or known. And there's three non-negotiables in life: being seen, heard, and understood, right? And but like, people that are insecurely attached do several things. So I've been talking about a secure connection. Um, some people stay in shame too long and avoid the very relationships they need um, to have that antidote. And these would be avoidant attachments or dismissive attachments. Stan Tatkin calls those islands. I don't need anybody. I'm
Mm.
self-sufficient. I don't look to others for comfort. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't feel. I'm just good. I'm good the way I am. Right. And so we find that in a lot of guys that are dealing with addiction. Like, they just push all those feelings down and then get those needs met in a more illegitimate way, like acting out. Disorganized attachment can be a little preoccupied. So Stan Tatkin calls these people waves. Okay. And I want connection because I've tasted it and I can feel it and I know how good it is. But then again, I'm scared of it going away. So I'm in and I'm out, and I'm in and I'm out. Those would be people who are raised by parents who were available at times and then unavailable at times. And you're just begging your parents, see me, hear me, you know, even if you're not doing that out loud, that's what's happening inside the soul of a disorganized person. And sometimes some of our betrayed partners can be kind of wavish,
Mm,
because attachment style can change based upon the relationship,
mm,
right? You know, and we have to know how our partners attach and begin to develop a capacity for secure connection in order to recover from betrayal trauma and sex addiction and the connection that has been stunted because of it. And, that involves a lot of grace in growing through that process because it's not an easy one.
no, it is not. It takes a lot of grace and a lot of courage, does it not?
My couples are some of the most courageous people on the
Yeah.
planet. It's
Yeah.
tough to walk through it, but it's so rewarding.
Stacey, that is such an important that is such important information about attachment. It is the crux, right? It's where our relationship styles and our experience of connection begins from infancy, and then it's how we show up in our relationships, and it's very helpful to know that we can repair and grow and heal in our attachment styles. You mentioned something about attunement earlier, and I want you to unpack that for our audience a little bit more.
Yeah. Attunement, it comes very early on with eye gaze from a mother and a baby. And eye gaze creates a felt sense of safety. So left eye to right brain, right eye to left brain gives the baby a sense of, I know I'm safe, the world is safe, and I can rely on you. So when we look at a baby, Kristen, we don't sit there and go, hello, baby, what do you need? I like the way you smile at me. Are you hungry? We don't. We are complete idiots. I have a new grandbaby, and we're like, oh, look at you. You're so cute. We do all this cooing, and there's affection in our eyes. And the baby's nervous system gets this sense of, I'm seen, and gets this sense of people want me. I am wanted. I am enough. I am loved, right? And Kurt Thompson says in The Soul of Shame, we are all born into the world looking for someone looking for us, and that we remain in this mode of searching for the rest of our lives. So we get it with our mom, we hope we do, and our parents doting over us and giving us attention and meeting our needs. And then we go out into life and we become independent and we live our lives in an independent kind of an auto regulation. The complete relationship between mom and baby is total dependency. That baby cannot survive without that mama, right? And so then we go out into the world and we can conquer the world, right? And we're independent, but then we're still looking for someone looking for us. And then we attach to someone, right? And we have to tune in like a radio to understand what it is that's happening from the other person. So it's important to attune to your partner. Like, Kristen, right now I see you, looking at me and going like this. And I see delight in your face. I see that you're getting it and you're nodding. It's telling me a lot. Your cues are telling me a lot about you, that you're engaged and that you are liking what you're hearing and you're interested in what you're hearing. And so we teach couples to tune in and to notice when someone swallows or someone's furrowing their brow or they're
Mhm.
clenching their jaw. And that jaw line starts getting firm, or their hands are nervous. And to key into the other person's nervous system, because our nervous system is sending lots and lots of messages all the time about what we're feeling on the inside. And words are important. I mean, they're super important, but it's not just words. It's tone as well. It's body stance. And we talk about proximity seeking. Like, do I want to lean in and listen, or do I want to roll my chairs away? And because I'm pack trained, we have rolling chairs in our office. And it tells us a lot about people, because you can see those betrayed partners go, I'm way back here. I don't want to have anything to do with that dude over there. Well, why is that?
She doesn't feel safe.
That's right. She didn't feel
Yeah.
safe. And her partner needs to understand why she doesn't feel safe. And that's when we start to talk about safety, emotional safety, and the lack of it in relationship. She can't attune to you because you don't feel safe for her.
Yeah. And I know there's some pushback when a person with unwanted sexual behavior is like, but I've come out with it now. So like, why can't we just reestablish safety like this? Stacey, what's your word on that? Why is that impossible to reestablish safety immediately?
Well, first of all, I'm going to look at the betrayed partner and have her tell her husband that, because it's a lot more powerful when she tells him than when I tell him. But he has to be educated too on that felt sense of safety, and be taught how to validate the fact that of course she doesn't feel safe. You've been lying to her, or you've been deceiving her, or you've been telling her to get over it. What message does that send to her? And I will work with couples to be able to express those things and support them while they're talking about those dicey conversations that at home go south, right? Really quickly.
So that means
And
your nervous system needs to be regulated and you need to be glad to be with them, even if it's hard work. And that sets the tone for them to be able to dissect these difficult conversations with your regulatory help.
absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things with that is Stan Tatkin talks about it, and it's about, like, these couples are in their own care. My guide as a therapist is to move them towards secure functioning. And we're going to talk about that, is what is secure functioning.
Mm.
And it's so part of what I have to do as a helper is regulate myself. And I read a great book that talked about shuttling up or shuttling down. And it's me being aware of myself as that third party in the room. If I'm over feeling and I'm kind of getting caught up in their story and getting over emotional, I got to shuttle up to my brain and become a little more prefrontal cortex, logical, get that therapist hat back on. But if I'm all in my therapist hat and I'm not feeling with, or I'm getting a little, okay, what's going on here? I shuttle down to my gut and my heart and enter in a more emotional way. So yeah, you've got to be aware of that, all of that.
Okay, you mentioned secure functioning principles. I want you to unpack that, but I also want you to talk about one of the common situations that happens with couples early on in this process,
Mhm.
having the idea that like we have to have a 50-50, everybody's doing their work, fairness and justice kind of a thing. And I want you to share why that is not realistic in the early stages. Early stages can mean months or even years depending
Yep.
on how long the acting out continues. But tell us more about why that 50-50, we're both putting in the work, fairness and justice desire that we would have in a relationship is not realistic in those early stages.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go back to that dependence and independence that we were talking about before. So if that early mother baby stage is pure dependence, and then we have independence, say in our college years, just a metaphor, you have one person here and one person here. You draw a
Mhm.
circle around those. If I had a whiteboard, I'd do that for you. And your college roommate, you're a person, they're a person. They have a hard day. It doesn't really affect you. You might feel for them, but it doesn't really affect you. It doesn't affect you. You're two different people. That's a two-person system. But when we come into coupleship, we become a two-person system, and both people are in what we call the couple bubble. So this goes right along with secure functioning principles. The couple bubble says we're both breathing this air within this couple bubble. How will we be good stewards of the air that we breathe? So that calls betrayed partners up to this place of, even if I'm angry, how do I keep it non-toxic? And I'm not shaming any partners for in the early stages throwing things and cussing up a storm and all that kind of stuff. But we encourage values-based living where they're in their values and teaching them how to express what they feel while staying in their values, so that the air within that two-person system is healthy for both of them and that they're going to solve this in a healthy way. However, in that two-person system, those people have to be even on level ground, because another secure functioning principle is it's got to be just and fair, based upon justice and fairness. So if she, and I'm just using she and he again, if she has been faithful to the relationship and has been all in, and this goes back to On the Coaster, Dr. Jake Porter's video On the Coaster, if she's been all in all along, telling the truth, giving to the relationship, and for years and years and years, he's outside of the relationship, not on the coaster, not telling her the truth, that creates a power imbalance.
Yeah.
He's held information about the relationship that she does not have and does not know. She's been operating as if he was equal and telling her everything. We tell each other everything is a secure functioning principle. He hasn't been doing that. So for the period, there has to be a period of time that it goes like this.
Yeah.
And that she may be over here doing her recovery saying, you're not safe yet, like you talked about earlier. I'm not going to trust you. I can't. And he's got to continue to be that person in that couple bubble saying, I'm going to be that man that you expected. I'm going to continue to be in, even if you're angry, I'm going to be with you in the anger. I understand, right? Um, and so it's really important that the needs of the relationship come first above the needs of the individual. And when that betrayed partner is ready to come back on and have a relational focus, then we work toward a relational focus for both of them. Okay.
Mm.
But until that fairness and justice has been dealt with, all those emotions processed, the impact of how could you? And really just grief. I can't even believe that you would have brought her into our home, and all the feelings that they're feeling, and the betraying partner can learn how to sit in that and hold space for that without going to a shame place.
That
That's
is tough. That is so tough.
It's a lot. It's a lot to learn how to do that. It is a lot to learn how to do that. But we believe that is the best way to bring about connection, because that justice piece and that equal footing has to be set for there to be mutuality going forward.
Yeah. Yes, that is so important. That
Yeah.
is so important.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to take a break here, and I'm going to bring Stacey back for the next podcast that we release is going to be part 2 of this. So Stacey, thank you so much for starting this topic of weaving couples together. Friends, if you're listening, we would love it if you would rate and review the Living Truth podcast. That gives more people the opportunity to hear these messages and find the hope. And until next time, I'm holding out hope for you.